Hi, guys. Happy Monday. Coach V here. Welcome to another Made New Monday. Every Monday, we talk about the new episode of my podcast, Transformative Talk with Coach V. So, thank you so much for joining me on today as we talk about this week's episode of the podcast. You can find the podcast on Apple, Anchor, or Spotify, but we're talking about the feeding stage. Last week, if you listened to the podcast, we talked about the egg stage. We're talking about new beginnings and beginning again. And so this week, we're talking a little bit about the feeding stage. And the reason that these podcasts are going in this order is because we are talking a little bit about my brand new book, The Butterfly Emerges: The Journey to a Transformed Mindset and a Transformed Life, that is available on Amazon right now. And so I wanted to give you kind of a little sneak peek into what the book is about as we go through the stages of the butterfly. And so in the feeding stage, we just talk about why we don't like to work, why we don't like to do that hard part of examining and engaging in that process of being made new, beginning again, having that fresh start, that clean slate. So we just talk a little bit about those things in this week's episode. And every week on the podcast, we talk a little bit about the transformative thought for the week. And so the transformative thought for this week is: I embrace examination and I remain actively engaged in the process. You know, when we desire to start over, when we go into something new, we have to be actively engaged in that process. We can't expect things to just happen for us. It's not an overnight process. We have to do some work, and it can be a little bit in labor intensive. There's some old habits that we need to let die. There's some new habits and things that we need to do or we need to pick up. So it's good to take the time to examine, do that self reflection, do that self examination as to, how we got to this point to where we just don't like to, you know, change. We oftentimes hear people say, I don't like change, or I don't do well with change. Well, why is that? Sometimes we need to take a look back. We need to take an introspective look to see where that attitude began, where that mindset set began, and begin to change that narrative, change the way we think about it, because then we change the way that we talk about it. And then we're more apt to embrace something new or actively engaging in the process of changing, making those changes in the way that we talk. Sometimes we even think about when we hear people say, well, that's just the way I am, or that's just the way I talk, and we say that is just accept me for as I am, which we do, but that doesn't mean that it's okay. And so we should be very mindful of the way that we say things and the way that we even come off to people, because sometimes the perception that a person can have is that you're just not willing to do the work. This is me, take it or leave it. I'm not changing. I'm not trying to evolve. I'm not trying to grow. I'm not trying to be better. I'm not trying to learn more. I'm not trying to do anything new. And sometimes that is even due to just the fear of the unknown, not knowing if they can handle, the newness. I've been doing it like this for so long, and so I'm comfortable. Even if it's something that's not working for us, we will be more apt to stick with the thing that's not working for us than to step out on faith and try something new, which is really unfortunate, because you could be really missing out on something really great in your life, something that could be life changing, a door or an opportunity that could present itself to you, because you decided to take that step. You decided to really do that examination and then be actively engaged in the process. Change requires your participation. We have to actively participate. The Bible tells us that we are co-laborers with God. And so we have to be committed in co-laboring with God in this process. We can't expect Him to just do everything and we do nothing. we got to work. If we expect to see some results, that means there's some things that we have to do. If we even think about, if we sit and look at, if we want to lose weight, we can't just, pray and that the weight just falls off. No, we've got to exercise. We've got to change the way that we eat. We've got to eliminate some things from our diet. We've got to make a decision to be more active. We've got to change that routine. Maybe we got to get up a little earlier in the morning to get that workout in. Maybe we need to be committed that once we get off of work, we'll go for that walk. We have to be actively engaged. We have to take the time to examine, how did we get in this rut? Am I maybe depressed? Am I maybe stressed out about something? Has there been something that has taken precedence over my physical health? Is there something that is directly correlated with my mental well-being, my emotional well-being, my psychological well-being that has affected my eating habits, my sleeping habits, my not having a desire to exercise? So when we examine, we are engaged. And so now we just have to stay committed to the process. And so in this episode of the podcast, we just talk about how we can get back on the path to being active in that feeding stage. It's the stage where the butterfly is like eating everything it possibly can. It's like coming into that new relationship with Christ. When you commit your life to Christ, or you've recommitted your life to Christ, you are on fire. You desire to just eat everything that God has to show you, download. You're always at church, you're at Bible study, workshops, seminars. You're just in that season where you desire to learn and grow and evolve. And so that's what the feeding stage is that you get all of this information and knowledge. You're looking at, what you used to do that was not so good for you. You're looking at the habits that were not serving you in the way they needed to serve you, and now you're engaged in changing that pattern. But you've got to have good information. You need new information to replace the old information. And so I hope that you will take the time to listen to this week's episode of Transformative Talk with Coach V on the feeding stage, and go back and listen to the first two episodes of the podcast, what it means to be inspired, and then even listen to last week's episode on the egg stage. There's a little theme going on here. And so I hope that even as you listen to the podcast, you'll have a journal, have a pen. I always encourage to have those things handy, because there may be something that you want to go back and listen, or go back and reflect on in your private time, in your prayer time, especially when it comes to the transformative truths and even the transformative thought. It's something that you can go back and it can be a great journal prompt. It can even be an affirmation that you recite to yourself every day. And so I really appreciate you guys joining me again for another Made New Monday. If you have not gotten your copy of The Butterfly Emerges, the journey to a transformed mindset and a transformed life, I strongly encourage you to get your copy today. I encourage you to get the paper book copy, because there are some journaling prompts in there. I would like for you to just follow through after reading the chapter, an opportunity for you to do that reflection, that examination of your own life. And so I think you will far better benefit from the paperback copy of the book. And so grab it. It's on Amazon. It's available now. I appreciate and am grateful for your support in advance. There are going to be some great things coming up. We'll discuss more about the book. I would love to hear your feedback. When you do purchase the book, I ask that you please leave a review and leave feedback for others on what you think of the book. That would mean a great deal to me. But stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more when it comes to The Butterfly Emerges that you will be hearing about very, very soon. But make sure that you grab your copy on today and get it on its way to you. I pray that you guys have an amazing rest of the day. I pray that you have a really, really fruitful week, and that you will meditate on the feeding stage, and that you will embrace examination and that you will remain actively engaged in the process as it pertains to your being made new and your transformation. I'm excited for you. Remember, today is a great day to be made new, and I am always, always rooting for you. I'll see you next week.